Hi guys, welcome to my channel, Life as Maya.
Can't focus on me.
Where I get to talk about my life, but also have guests on to come share about their life experiences as well. Today we have a special guest, my father. You want to introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, I am Daryl Broughton, the greatest creator of all time.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah. Today we're just going to be sharing our journey of this father-daughter relationship. It's been a little rocky, but we have definitely moved into a better space. So
Absolutely.
I think us sharing our development and relationship could help others possibly. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so like any other episode, I start off all my guests with asking if you could name this chapter of your life, what would you name it?
If I could name this chapter of my life, it would be evolvation.
Is that a word?
No, I created the word, but it means, and I was thinking about this, it means I'm in this stage of my life as I'm evolving while at the same time elevating, So I call it evolvation. I thought of that while I was at the barbershop.
That's what you were thinking about?
Yeah, just, what this chapter of my life is. So yeah.
Evolving and elevating. I guess if I had to name the chapter of my life, it would probably still be what I said last time, but let me think of something new. Damn, I should have thought. I just named it last week. The chapter hasn't changed that quick.
But what about this moment? What do you feel in this moment?
I would name this moment, I don't know, just curious of how this conversation is gonna go.
We're cool.
So yeah, I don't really have a chapter right now. We'll just still for real faith. I still feel like I'm on that chapter of just chasing those dreams that I have and seeing where they go.
Awesome.
All right, so we're gonna play a little game though first because. So I'm the second oldest of 7 siblings. So he has 7 kids. There is 4 girls, 2 guys. No,
5 girls.
There's 5 girls, 2 boys. Well, 5 women, 2 men, and that's a lot of kids to keep up with. So we're gonna do a little trivia game real quick before we get into the nitty gritty. Let me get it. All right, we're just gonna play a which child is most likely to, and then we'll start with the conversation.
All right.
Okay, which child is most likely the model?
The model would be
Try like it.
the model, like a runway
Most likely
model.
to model, yeah.
To model. Probably Shania.
Okay, I figured that one too. Which child? Oh, these are going to be most likely to, and which child is. Which child is the most affectionate?
The most affectionate child, Moo.
I think so too. Which child looks most likely, most like you?
Most like me?
Mm-hmm.
I would have to go off of what everybody else is saying. I would have to say Moo. Or Daryl.
Moody or Daryl, yeah. I feel like that's true. Which child was the hardest to raise?
You. You, maybe. Yeah, I think it was you.
How?
I don't know. I think because you're so much like me. And I think it's very difficult, managing self. Especially before you evolve. So yes, you probably was that.
I wasn't expecting that one. Trivia one. Name all your kids and all their birthdays. You don't gotta say the year, so we ain't giving
all
them
my
too
kids
much.
and all their birthdays. Shania, February 1st. Shemaiah, July 15th. Daniel.
So somehow my camera died. I don't understand how, but we were talking here for 40 minutes.
We can recap the conversation that they missed.
Okay, so basically what we started at a timeline of where I felt like everything for me was adding up after him and my mom divorced, and that was the first time that he had to come tell me and my older sister Shania that he was moving out, but he never said like, oh, I'm moving out, leaving your mom. It was just like, oh, I'm moving out to be closer to work. So I was like, oh, okay, he has to be close to work. Eventually we'll get there with him. But when we went over to his new house, there was a new woman there.
And I think you conflating a lot of this stuff, right? Because it wasn't like you left the bunk bed the next day you went over to this new woman's house. It wasn't like that. So,
but that's how my memories
I know,
are.
right? I get it. Because you, as a kid, that's how the trauma
Starts,
builds
yeah.
up, right?
I mean, yeah, it didn't happen overnight, but it happened pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because obviously, once you have that conversation with us, you were probably moving out soon. Once you had to tell us that you were leaving,
right,
it was happening soon.
Yeah,
and you were working at Gold's Gym at that point, so
it was rough.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened. I obviously don't know what was happening behind the scenes. Like you said, you and mommy did a good job of shielding us from a lot, because that divorce came.
It was like a shock, right?
It was like,
right.
What? That's why I'm saying, like, when I was a kid going to school every day, it was like I was in a 2-parent household one day, then at the snap of fingers I was in a 1-parent household.
Right.
And I feel like that's where it all began, of when, like, I really feel like the trajectory of our relationship started changing.
Right.
In that moment. So then, fast forward to when we did have to start going to spend weekends with you. Now we have my little sister Kelsey who's there, and now that I'm thinking about this was a very long time, because you and Joycelyn were in that relationship for a while.
Like 7 years.
Okay, yeah. And so, obviously, I'm probably like, how old was I when you guys divorced?
So, however old you were in 2008.
So I was 8, so that's my point. At 8 years old, you really just remember maybe 4 years of your life.
Right.
Because you remember, so you being with her felt longer than you being with us.
Right.
So that's why I think a sense of jealousy built up, because I'm like, he was at our house at one point. Like, Daddy was living with us.
Right.
And we could go be in him and mommy's bed and play with him. Right. And now we go for the weekends and we have to say bye. Like, that's why crazy. Do I have to say bye to my dad? Because it'd be one thing, like, some people, they're just born into 2 separate households. That's all they know is co-parenting lifestyle. But it's another thing when you, like, fully know, like, or fully have experienced, like, being a door away from your dad rather than, like, being miles away. So I think, like, once that started clicking for me, I was just like, what's going on? And why is no one talking about it? Because I don't remember a conversation where you and mommy actually had to sit us down. Every conversation about the divorce was separate.
Correct.
From what I remember.
And I think that in itself was one of our biggest mistakes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because we were so young, and we were so, you know, it was not a nice divorce, right?
Yeah.
It was a lot of resentment and a lot of dislike. I would never say hate, because I think even in the dislike and the transition of things, I never hated her. It probably been a period of time I felt, you know, hated. You know what I'm saying? And I can understand that, but I never hated her. So looking back, I feel like that's what we could have did better as parents, to sit down and have that conversation with y'all, right? But we were more focused on the marriage than we were on the relationship, that not having the conversation was going to affect y'all. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think you can't know that in those moments.
You don't know that in that moment, yeah. I think, like we were saying, you just go in survival mode and you're just taking day by day, like, okay, I'm getting a divorce.
Right.
In order to get divorced, I gotta move out. I gotta do this. So you guys were, I think, and maybe you guys, I don't know, maybe you had the mindset of, like, they're young, they're really not, like, they're okay.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that was part of it.
They probably, like, or maybe you guys had the mindset of, they're young, they'll get it when they're older.
Not at that time. At that point, that never came to my, I can sit here and say that, I never thought about that. Like, it was never, they'll get it when they're older. That came over time as I started going through things in my marriage, is when I started to forgive my father, right? So, you know, as I went through my marriage, had issues with, because for a long time, you know, I, as a kid, was very angry and resentful towards my dad, right? Because, you know, he wasn't present, and we had this stepfather, which was a great stepfather, but his kids was there, his kids was with him, and you know, so I had my own stuff, and then I ended up having to go stay with my aunts, and I had all this built up trauma in me, and anger because I just felt like I wasn't important to my parents, right? Even to
Right.
So then you take that and you fast forward. It's like I was just not knowing how to forgive my dad until I started experiencing some of the same things from a relationship. That me and my dad, I apologized to him and had that conversation with him at Shania's graduation on the porch.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we kind of had our conversation. Mm-hmm. So all of those things is trauma, what we call trauma.
Yeah.
But what it all boils down to is communication. Like nobody communicated to me,
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't know how to communicate to y'all.
Exactly.
So yeah,
and I think that's what, because it wasn't talked about, because it wasn't communicated, it felt like no one cared.
right.
So because no one cared, then like we just gotta move on because he does. And at 8, 9, 10, 11, you are feeling all these feelings, but because you're not talking about them, you're just okay, internalizing it. Like, what did we do as a family that wasn't good enough for him to have to go over there? And like, and even when it was over there, it was fun. Like, we had a good time, but then it's like, okay, now we gotta go.
Right.
And so when it's not talked about, like even the fact of like, how do you guys feel about being here now with Kelsey and my new girlfriend? Like communication could have solved so many things. So I feel like because we weren't communicating a lot and we were just going through emotions, what would have been building up from communicating would have been like healing and love. But because we weren't talking about it, it was just
festive,
like hate. And it was like, oh, when I get older, like I just knew I was going to poop on you when I grew up.
Right.
Because I was just like, that's what I felt like you were doing to us. Like you were just like going to build this whole new life. So I was like, when I get old enough to move out, like I'm gonna build this whole new life without him, and I'm just gonna hate him. So fast forward, what that looked like for us in that moment was just a whole bunch of arguing, a whole bunch of button heads, and it wasn't like a girl who wants to be
rebellious.
It wasn't me being rebellious. It was just like a cry for like, I wanted you, like I want my dad, like and even though you were present, it was just like, because like I said, we weren't talking about it, it was just like I just don't like him. So, but also I'm saying all this now, but in that moment I didn't know that I needed communication. Obviously I didn't know that I needed apology. I didn't know that I just needed anybody to verbalize to me what was going on. So just like move on. I was doing the same thing that was being done to me, just moving on. But then in November of 2021, when you apologize, that's when it was like, it literally felt like I was in like shackles, and they had fell, because it was the first time I realized like, oh, now he understands that like what effect everything had on us, because he's apologizing about it. Like he has to know that it was affecting us because he's saying sorry. And all those years when you weren't saying sorry, it was like, oh, he just think we good. Like he really think like this is a happy home, especially because like I think being the dad or being the parent that's outside the home, when your kids come to you, you have to be like happy, and like let's have a good time. And it was fun because it was like, oh, at daddy's house we get to eat out, at daddy's house we get to do these things. But it was like, how can he be happy? Like how can he be happy and we're unhappy? Right.
So, and I think one of the things I do want to like describe from the perspective of a man going through divorce, making mistakes, but at the same time wanting to be present in his children's life and love them the way they're supposed to be, is because one of the things that society holds us to is that, yo, you have to be able to provide, right? So the one thing that I never wanted to be was to be a deadbeat father, right? I didn't want to be a person that even I'm not present, I still can't provide, right? I was always a provider, you know what I'm saying? And I've had periods of where things was rough for me, but even in the rough times, my perspective was, I just can't be a failure financially for my kids, because I had already failed y'all emotionally, because it was starting to show as y'all got older, and the questions, you felt the resentment, right? I began to feel it. But even going through those experiences, I still was more important. What was more important to me was not failing, right? Not being a divorced dad, you know what I'm saying? And then also being a broke dad, right? That is like, in society, that you're the scum of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Only thing lower than a broke dad, divorced dad, or an absent father
Mm-hmm.
is probably, some criminal stuff, like some pedophiles or something. But
Yeah.
in society, as a man that has pride, you want to provide. So I think that at the time was my focus, is that, and I should have been more focused on y'all emotional health.
Mm-hmm.
But because at that point in time, I was so driven by proving myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Proving myself, making sure that people see that I'm not who you think I am.
Yeah.
I'm not that person. So I was caught more up in that, when at the time, because I was so young,
Mm-hmm.
I should have been more concerned with, how my children feel emotionally because of my absence from the home.
Yeah.
And that right there comes from, looking back from
Mm-hmm.
this angle of who I am now.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
And I mean, there's grace, because you guys were literally 21 when you guys got married. I would never recommend that for anybody.
Right.
Now, not even because of that situation, but like, if I look at myself at 21, I wouldn't know how to be a wife, and no man would know how to be a husband at 21.
Right.
Or you have to be okay with being in a marriage with somebody who has to learn how to become a husband.
Right.
So I think now there's grace, because you guys were both first time doing this, first time parents, first time divorcees, first time in a marriage, like trying to figure this out together. So like, I don't blame you guys for not like being like, okay, well, we got to worry about providing. We also got to worry about their emotional health. Like, you don't even understand that all this is going to happen. But just from my perspective, that is what was like just growing in me, because it just wasn't being communicated. But I feel like when we finally did talk about it, it was like okay, like now I can actually move forward in love, because like at least I know like he does feel some sort of like guilt from this, like, or not even guilt, but like he's just apologetic about it. But even then, I feel like after the apology, we still were butting heads.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I still don't think we were just laying it all on the forefront. And I think a lot of the times you thought that we argued, you thought it was coming from that place. But it was like, no, I'm just arguing with my dad.
Correct.
Because like, it's a daddy-daughter relationship. Sometimes we're going to argue. So every time we argued about something, at the end, you would be like, you're just trying to hold me to this person that I'm trying to be. And then it would frustrate me, because I'm just like, no, I'm just talking to you right now. Like, we're in a disagreement right now. Like, and even I had to verbalize, like, I have forgiven you. Like, I am moved on, so let's move on. Like, I don't ever want us to be in an argument where you feel like, oh, she's just arguing with me because of what I've done to her all those years back.
But it felt that way. It felt like you were the spokesperson for the emotions of not even the other siblings, but the spokesperson for the emotions of your mom. Mm-hmm. And I just felt like that wasn't fair to you or to me, right? So because you were taking on the pain that I caused your mom, which should be a total different relationship, because I didn't perceive me hurting you, right? Yeah. Because I felt like, okay, I didn't get along with this human being. We're good. I love her. I do as best as I can for her. I'm present. So in who I was in the stage of life, I didn't understand that, that those emotions can transfer over, right? I felt like it was like, I felt like you were being used as a weapon, right? So when we would have conflict, I would always take it back to your mom, like.
And I think even she would tell me like I understand your heart, like, but like you have to stop defending me to your dad, because he thinks I'm putting things in your head.
Right.
And it wasn't that. It was like, I'm hurt for my mom, because the older I got, because at this point I'm like, what, 18, 19, 20 maybe?
Yeah.
While we're actually like in this space. And it was just like, oh, now I'm hurting for her. I'm hurting for the little girl in her, or the young girl in her who did it right. She got married. She had the kids. She was doing everything right. And then like it all crumbled in front of her. So I think I was hurting for who that was. And I think I was also hurting for myself, because I was like, because of what, this is my mindset then, because of what you did, now I lost out on a version of her that I remember having that I no longer have. Because all she has to do is work to get like to do what you were talking about. Like, she has to provide. Like,
Right.
she doesn't, right now, she does not have the capacity to provide and be emotional with us.
Right.
And she probably don't even got the capacity to even be emotional with herself because, like we're saying, you're just in survival mode. You're just trying to go. You're just trying to get it. I do think once we talked about, we said it out loud, like, this is, like, let's let go and move forward. I think all I wanted from you, even though you said like you loved us and that's all you wanted us to see from you, I think I just had the blinders on to that because at that moment I was just like, he don't care, he don't love us. But once we verbalized the fact that like you were sorry and that I was no longer holding you to that person, I do think like I was like, okay, I want to receive more love, so now I'm just gonna start moving out loud. So I was calling out of love. So I was calling you more, like just trying to rebuild that entire relationship, because I do think I was a spokesperson for my mom a while, but then I also had to realize like I can't carry on both of our hurt. Like the hurt that I've got from the situation is enough.
Right.
And like as much as I want her to heal, like I need to heal too. So
yeah,
I was just yearning for the relationship with you. Like even now, like getting to be like, oh, I see this on my dad's Amazon account. I'm on my dad's Amazon account. I want to order this. I'm gonna see if my dad can get it. Like even those little moments where you say yes to like, oh yeah, go ahead and get it. I'm just like, oh, look at the little, like, right. It's like a relationship that I like felt like I didn't have at the, like, not even like financial, but just being able to just like call on you and like just like there'd be like, oh, I have to ask him for something, because that's how it felt back then. Like, yeah. Oh, I don't want to ask him for
right.
nothing. I don't even like him.
Right.
But like now with all that like being lifted off, it's like, yeah. It's just like the relationship that I'm like, the relationship we have now is a relationship I would have loved to have as a kid, and like I do feel sorry for that little girl, but like I'm glad that like we can move forward right. now, and those right. lessons are right. lessons I'll carry you for on.
Right. Yeah, I think even that moment when you was like when we had that conversation, you told me about like remembering that. I think that was the true light bulb for me, when you remembered exactly when it all happened, like the bunk bed moment.
Mm-hmm.
And for so long, you know, that moment wasn't something that I remembered.
Was even significant.
It wasn't even significant at all in my head. And then we was on the phone that day.
Did we recap that?
Huh?
Did we recap that?
I don't think so.
The bunk bed.
No, we didn't.
Okay, let's recap that, because I think that is the starting point. So when we started the conversation off, we started off like where I felt like our whole trajectory went, where our whole journey of our relationship started. For me was, well, I would say the whole journey of our rocky relationship, because before right. then it was just like daddy, like that
was the seed, that moment, right?
That was like the big like pivotal point for me. Right. Was me and my older sister shared a bedroom, and we had bunk beds, and daddy came in there with us one night, like any other normal night. He just laid in between us, and we were like we all had our feet we were on the bottom bunk bed, and we all had our feet playing on the top of the bunk bed. And he was just like, yeah, daddy has to talk to you guys. And he basically was like, I have to move, I have to leave to be closer to work. So we were like, oh, daddy has to move to work. Okay, cool. We'll be maybe we'll eventually move too. Maybe we just can't move now because school, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't, like, in my head it wasn't clicking like, oh, daddy's leaving. Like, leaving. Because right. It wasn't, again, verbalized in that moment. So then when we did go see him in his new house, he wasn't lying. Like, it was closer to the Gold's Gym. But right. Then there was, like, a new person there. So then I was like, so yeah. That's when, and it's crazy that I remember that too.
Right. And that it wasn't to that, I think that conversation, when you actually verbalized and remembered that moment, and you was like, you had on a t-shirt,
yeah,
a white beater on, yeah,
and no socks. His red skin like, was on top of the bed.
Like, you remembered all of those details. That was a pivotal moment for me. And this was a couple years ago, like 3 years ago. It was in 2020,
yeah, maybe.
Something like that. And it was like, dang. So,
like, dang, how did she remember that?
Yeah, that really affected y'all. And so that at that point, I started thinking about, okay, all of our actions, or my actions, was, traumatic, possibly to y'all, and I didn't understand it. I think I started to begin to understand it, but I didn't understand how deep and how clear it was to you that moment.
Right.
Like, yeah, and
it was like we were saying, like, you guys always had the conversation separately. It was never a
right,
mommy and daddy are no longer happy. We still love you guys. We still love each other, but we feel like in order to love you guys the best version of ourselves, we have to be away.
right,
So then automatically, if you guys aren't having that conversation together, we're already thinking like, oh, there's beef.
right,
Like they hate each other or
right,
something like that, because it's not even like a united front. And you were the one who moved, so in a kid's face, it's like he's the one who left.
right,
Mommy could have been like, you leave, I don't want
right,
to be with you, divorcing you, but it was like you were the one who left. And I think another thing we touched on that obviously we missed was you guys could have had a multitude of marriage issues. What's hard for me was because it wasn't, the conversation wasn't had why we're divorcing. Obviously I assumed the reason you guys were divorcing was because of the two other kids that came in between the marriage.
Right.
So all I was thinking was, oh, daddy wants to just go build another family. As a
right,
kid, I'm thinking, I'm not even like and at 8-9 years old, I'm not thinking like, oh, daddy cheated. I'm thinking, oh, daddy, this family wasn't good enough for daddy.
right,
He had to go build a separate one.
right,
So I think that's also what hurt. And then even as I grew older, then it was just like, I can't believe he cheated.
right,
Like it went from like, it just, as you grow older, you start putting things together. It's like, okay, that sibling came from my dad cheating.
correct,
And then you deal with other kids at school, like when you explaining your situation, like, I'm going to go be with my dad this weekend and we're going to da-da-da-da. And like when the kid called me and Daniel Ghetto twins, and I was just like, what does that mean? And then you just start thinking about this, and you're too scared to tell you're too scared to talk to your parents about it, because that space wasn't created to come to talk to them about it. So you go to the wrong people for the wrong advice, and you're just listening to kids. So I think that was like another layer of it, was not only are my parents divorcing and now like I'm in two separate households, it's like, dang, like why would daddy do that? And I think maybe I did sound like the spokesperson for mommy, because I was taking on that like as if you cheated on me,
right,
and you didn't, but it felt like it.
right. And I think we just could have did better with communicating to you guys like what was going on. You know what I mean? I think, and it's a lot. It's so much, and that's like I really like even to this day, we never, your mom and I, has never sat down with y'all and gave our maybe even our gripes with each other that we was going through in the marriage, right?
Right.
It always like I always felt like I was the bad guy, right? I can accept that, but it was so much that we're getting so much better now, and it's like I hope one day we could just all sit down, us and the four of y'all, and we just put it all on the table. Absolutely, I initiated all of the resentment, right? I can't tell you a moment that when the marriage was good and it was happy, and I felt like your mother, did something wrong to trigger me to do certain things. We had issues prior, like right before the marriage, but we had some things that were in question, but we worked through them and got married. So during the marriage, there's nothing, right? But we could have just done better with communicating. And also we could have done better with communicating more through the divorce and the separation and the building of this new normal. We could have did better, but we were so angry at each other.
Yeah, that's all you guys were focused on.
Oh, we were so angry at each other, because we felt like failures, right?
Yeah, it was an ugly divorce.
Yeah, we felt like failures because we was doing so well and so many.
Who was the one who initiated the divorce?
Your mother.
Oh, she was the one who said, I want a divorce from you.
Right. And I think, like, she, and to this day, unless she tells me something differently, right, I believe that a lot of her reasoning for filing for divorce is not because we didn't love each other anymore, because we worked through things. We worked through, Daniel. We worked through that.
Yeah, which
That-
I think she did a great job at, because
Yeah, but you got to think of the outside
factors,
influence,
for
right?
sure.
Because I think most, like, we could have got through those things, but I think it was the embarrassment that it caused.
It's embarrassing.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
like but I do think, like, yeah, you can work through it to a certain extent, but I'm sure, like, even after her working through it, she probably was still like a little resentment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I get it. But like I said, like I've come to your mom and been like, we know each other, right? I believe that, like, for instance, like you and Raji, right?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all know each other, right? Y'all fell in love with the organic parts of each other right now. So as you go through life, and you're going to change, he's going to evolve, and it's going to probably come out, certain things about y'all may come out as you grow and have experience that you don't like about each other, right?
Right.
But so this is the argument I gave your mom for a while. It's like, but you know me. We came from nothing together. You know me, and I just felt like you gave up on me, and I felt like you also, when you know that we made this vow, this commitment, that's like if I get sick. Maybe I was sick. I was a sick individual. I was a sick boy that didn't know how to be a man, right? So, and I'm not saying that this is correct. You can't place this blame, but this is a conversation that I was having with her. It's like, you know what? You shouldn't have gave up on me. Like, I would have never gave up on you, but I can't say that, right?
I was about to say, because what if mommy popped up pregnant one day?
Right. So, but that's what I'm saying. So, my thing is, I think that it just became too much, because it was so many people, like, in our relationship with opinions about what I had done to Kim.
Yeah.
Right? But we were doing so well in other aspects, and I think that if we had the strength to just focus on fixing our family, like now, today, if I ever get married again, I will not get a divorce.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, divorce to me, like, is not an option. That's why I haven't gotten remarried. Right?
And you'll probably also not do the things that you used to do.
Correct.
So, like, that's another thing as well. You've learned, you've grown, and I understand. Like, I won't say I understand cheating, but I understand that it can happen. You're 21 years old. You've been in a relationship with somebody for 5 years. You, as a man, not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong. No, I'm not saying it's right. But there is a level of, like, understanding I have for someone who wants to explore, I guess, out. So I'm not excusing, but I'm saying, like, I get it. Like, at the time, as a kid, though, you're looking at your dad, just like that pass.
Right. I don't know if that's gonna pass.
Is that like a lawnmower?
Yeah. Right. Because I think the more and more we talk about this, it's gonna be more and more healing, right?
Yeah. For sure, it's gonna be healing for us.
You really need to convince your mom. We don't have to do it on camera. I'm not saying for record, but I want to have this conversation. Right?
No, that would be nice, and I would like to see from her perspective, because I feel like there's a level of healing that I need to have with her as well. Like, I want the mother-daughter relationship where I can call her all the time, but because I feel like we didn't talk so much when I was in the house, we rarely talk now.
Right.
But all in all, I think that we've grown from this, and I think what I can even get from this conversation in simple, like, bottom line is, no matter what situation you're in, it's like communication really is key. Like, those, like, basic bye. Like, that's Maya. We're out.
We gotta.
Bottom line, I feel like a lot of things that could have been hills from our relationship and in any relationship moving forward is, like, just verbalizing things, because I think once you begin assuming somebody's intentions, that's where it all gets blurred. And like I said in my last episode, was like, there's intentions and then there's impact. And I think this whole thing is a perfect example of that.
Right. Probably
had the purest intentions, but the impact it had on us was we didn't feel any of the pureness. So,
and I think that as this is where, as you got older and you verbalize your hurt and your pain, I felt it, right? I get it. But in those moments, because you used to hurt me a lot. Like I'm talking about,
But
like
I
even,
think I knew I wanted to.
I know, and it worked. And the only reason it worked, is because I loved y'all. Love y'all so much that it's like it felt like no matter how I tried to express or shield you from the pain that I caused, but try to express my love, it's like it just wasn't working. But I just didn't know how to communicate it, opposed to try to, show action and make it go away with fun.
With all the fun,
right?
Because like I said, it was fun being over there, but it was just like it felt like, oh, it's fun because he's moved on, he's happy over here, so we have to be happy that he's over here too.
Right.
But I think the only reason I was doing purposeful things to hurt you is because like I just wanted you to feel how I felt.
Right.
And obviously I was thinking the whole wrong thing of you. I felt like, again, if we talked about it, I would have known like, oh, he does get where I'm coming from. He does feel, and then we probably could have saved a lot of our rocky relationship from that, but it was what it was. That's just where we were.
That bunk bed story. Listen, no, this is serious. This is so spiritual. I think that was such a, like, I've had a bunch of transitions throughout my life, but that story, like, released or made me aware of so much.
Yeah,
damn, I cried so hard when we got off the phone. Like, I don't think I ever cried that hard as an adult after that conversation, because it felt like you telling that story showed me all the pain that I had caused from that moment forward, because of that simple story and you being able to remember that. And me knowing, damn, if she can remember that,
what else can she remember?
What all else does she remember?
Because her memories are only going to become more vivid because she's getting older.
Right.
So it's like at 20, how the heck can I remember that? Because it was like a pivotal moment. And I would be curious to know what all my other siblings' pivotal moment, because that might have not been Shania's moment where she was like, everything clicked for her. But like, that was for me. So
yeah, I'm sure y'all ever talked about the bunk bed moment?
Yeah, we did. She remembers that conversation, but I don't know if I never asked her like, was that when you like made? So I would be interested. Maybe the part 2 will have the siblings on.
Right, that right there, that was a release. I talking like that was a man, but yeah.
I feel like the release you got from that was the release I got from when you apologized.
Right.
Because your release, me saying that made you aware of, like, oh my gosh, you remembered that. But you apologizing was me aware of, like, oh, so he actually knows that it hurt. So, like, and I think we were all quiet, like, when you apologized. Like, and then we also had other family around.
Right.
But, like, I remember, like, going upstairs with, like, I don't know who was all in the room, but it was a few of us. And we were like, I think it was Daniel that I was talking to. We were like, he apologized? Like, for us, it was, like, crazy. And it was, like, it wasn't, like, a long apology where you went into details about everything. It was just, like, if I haven't said it before, I'm saying it now, like, I am sorry. Like, I am sorry. And then I remember we didn't really, like, say too much because people were around. We were just like, thank you. But, like, it meant a lot for us when we went upstairs because, like I said, for me, it was like, oh, we can move forward now. Like, I actually want to begin moving forward with him because for all these years, I felt like he thought what he didn't have an effect on us, and that, like, it was just cool for him to just move on with his life.
Right. And, so, like, a thing that I had to also get through is because I would move and do certain things and out of selfish reasons, right, with the relationships I was in. But the one thing that let's just speak about your mom, right? So that your mom could tell you that I never ever stopped loving y'all. My love never changed. My engagement, my interaction, I never wanted to change. Only when I was trying to work and get, because I've always been that guy, the hard worker, trying to figure it out. Mm-hmm. So through her pain, I felt like there were moments in time that the only weapon your mother had against me were you guys, right? Mm-hmm. And for so long, I feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just need her to, like, express that. Like, she did that. You know what I'm saying?
Use us as weapons against you?
Yes. So those are the conversations that we need to have, and I think that me and her have had them, and I understand because she was hurt because of what I did. But so that's why I feel like me and your mother could have done better for our family by us having a conversation with y'all from the beginning. And it's just like, man, like I just wish things were different. Sometimes I definitely wish things was different. But then on that, you know those movies like, okay, well if things would have went this way, how would you be? Because I look at my dad now, right, and his thought process, his mindset would have shifted my life.
Yeah,
I would have been a total different human being probably because he would have raised me differently.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, you wish, but you don't know what you're wishing for, maybe.
Yeah, but I think there's obviously like there's God's plans, and I think His plan will proceed regardless. But
Correct.
I think He can use all things. So like, He probably was like them two. We don't know His plan. I don't even want to box it what His plan was.
We don't know,
but even if when you guys make that commitment, I know when you get married, you're supposed to stay married. Even if like His plan was for you guys to stay married, even in the divorce, He still used that, and I think He used it for this moment, and I think He'll use it for all 7 of your kids, all 7 of your kids' kids, because there are things that we have learned from watching our parents go through that our kids will not face.
Right.
Like even if I get married, God forbid, and have to get divorced, I know that I'm going to partner up with that man that I'm married to, and we're going to talk to our kids about it. And we're going to check, regardless.
Whatever the situation is.
Because even if, regardless of the situation that y'all said, like, even if y'all would have sat and told us all the reasons and put y'all dirty laundry out there, at least so we would have known. Like, maybe that wasn't the right way to go for the kids our age, but, like, we wouldn't have just been expected to continue to move on just because everybody else is. But everybody else is in the know but us.
Right.
So.
And I'm not even saying that we should expose our dirty laundry to y'all. But what we should have done is, you know, communicated as a one front
what was
going on, right? Or even not even what was going on. But we could have communicated, resolved our issues, maybe went to marriage, divorce counseling or some sort of counseling, because, hey, regardless of how we felt on an intimate level about each other, we have all of these children together. That has to be the most important thing. Right. So even if the people that we are now, we would go and say, you know what, we got to do this for the kids, Daryl or Kenya. We gotta be. We don't have to be best buddies and hang out every weekend, but we gotta be able to at least communicate outside of anger, so that we can.
The purpose is so much bigger.
Right.
It's the purpose of us becoming a united front is so much bigger than anything that we got going on, but just between me and you.
Correct. And I think that, we get that now. Yeah. I think she kind of always got that, but the hurt, the pain was like, how I'm gonna be your teammate and you just destroyed me.
Yeah. And I get that though.
I get it.
I know mommy knows that she could have done better, and I think she has had that conversation with me recently where she's like, a lot of things are clicking for me now. Like a lot of things that I should have poured my energy into, I didn't. So needless to say, we're all just growing and healing.
Right.
The lawnmower is back on.
Right.
So before we close, I want to close out with life advice. Maybe we'll sit down again and have another conversation. Right. Maybe we'll do it. I'm here for 4 more days, so maybe we'll do it again.
Right.
With the other siblings. I don't know. Hopefully this was good. If it's not getting put out. But
life advice.
Any piece of life advice for any listener listening.
Oh yeah. And I think the piece of life advice I would give any human being would be, to first get to know yourself at the deepest level, to know your strengths and all your weaknesses. Get through that. Know that we all gonna have flaws. Figure those out and know how to navigate them. But prior to you bringing other life or connecting with another life and bringing other life into this world, actually, absolutely, and 100% be confident in who you are, know who you are, and know where you need to go prior to, connecting, right? Yeah. So I just think the best advice I can give is get to know yourself first. Get yourself together, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and financially before you partner up to create life with someone else.
Yeah, exactly. Or just mature enough, because I feel like even at 50 you're gonna be learning yourself, new things. But don't get married at 21.
But I'm talking about when I say learning yourself, you're never gonna be this whole entire journey is constantly learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when there is a point in time where you're gonna come to say, you know what,
I knew who I want to be.
I could be, or I'm a great husband.
Yeah.
Or I could be a great father or mother.
In that phase of your life, you have mastered what you want to become.
Correct. And now you want to teach this to your offspring.
Got it.
Right.
My piece of life advice would just be...
I'm sorry. Let me say this last piece. And that's why I think that you get so... Because what we talked about today, when you say I be rambling. And I think the ramble is because, oh my God, I got all this information.
And it's
I could be
clicking in that little
and I just want to tell it to my little girls.
Yeah.
They're women now, so yeah.
Yeah.
You're still my little girls though.
Jesus Christ. Okay, my piece of life advice would be, honestly, like in any situation, whether it's relationship, just being by yourself, just whatever situation you're in, like, even if you can't verbalize how you feel to someone, verbalize or journal it how you feel to yourself. Because I feel like that's even been super healing for me, is just writing down where I'm at in any phase of my life. Like if I'm feeling hurt, if I'm feeling curious, if I'm feeling like upset, like just writing it down. Because when it's all in your head, it feels so major, it feels big. But like sometimes when you write it down, you're just like, okay, that's a feeling, I can move on. It's like a to-do list. If you like, I gotta go to the grocery store, I gotta do this, and it's all in your head, it feels like so much. But when you write it down and you start crossing it off, you're like, this is manageable. So just verbalize how you feel, don't ignore it, journal it. That would be my piece of life advice, is journal, I guess.
Good.
Thank you for joining Life as Maya. I'm sure he'll be a regular. We'll see him a multitude of times. Y'all, this is how you, I don't know what the enemy don't want this to come out or something, but because we've been through too much trying to record this video.
Right.
But
this is gonna be good.
It's gonna be good.
I think it's gonna be good.
It'll be nice. But hopefully it helps someone just hearing us talk. And yeah, let us know if you guys want us to go into details about anything else on another episode. All right. Bye, guys.
Can't focus on